Hello, everyone, and welcome to the virtual version of the Texas Motor Speedway. I am Mark Murphy, your host for this evening's 150-mile race from the Texas Motor Speedway. I'm joined, of course, by my colleague and good friend Ryan Eric King, affectionately known across the iRacing world as the Wreck, Gillette.com motorsports writer. And Ryan, we've got a really good show in store for the fans tonight. What do you think we're going to see?
It is going to be a battle of wits, being able to keep your tires under you and finding the fastest way out of these corners, because passing can be hard here, but if you know where to do it, you'll move your way up the field.
Absolutely. And speaking of moving the way up the field, Josh Ward's going to enter the event. This is the third race of the NASR voted IndyCar Oval Series. Josh Ward leads the point standings after two races on 78. Akash Rajesh is second with 70 points. Gary Lovern is third with 65. Will Stearns with 61 is in fourth. Mason Mitchum will round out your top five. Both Josh Ward and Will Stearns have won races on the have won a race in this young series for this young league. Pole positions are important here. Edson Santos and Josh Ward have each claimed one of those, and that's important because the point structure is 40 points for a win, 35 for second, and then you decline by 1 point after that for each position on the track. You do get a bonus point for the pole, a bonus point for leading one lap, and a bonus point for the most laps led. And I will say this, I'm going to really be looking. You mentioned the battle of the wits, Ryan. I'm going to be looking to see who can go up on that high line tonight. As you well know, I am a huge fan of putting my car right up next to the fence in turns 1 and 2. It is very wide down there. A lot of people are going to try to stick to the bottom. I like to put my car way up there where Harry Gant, Richard Petty, and Dale Jr. like to tread, because you can pass a lot of cars if you can get your car working right up there, but you got to be really careful not to burn the tires off the thing.
Yeah, and you get a lot of spots doing that early in the race, because while everyone is, keeping their distance from everyone else in the pack, usually are on the bottom, the top's usually wide open.
Yes, sir. Yes, it is. And speaking of the top, we're rapidly approaching the middle point of the series here, as you see from the schedule on the screen. Today is the third race. The stark middle of the season will be next week at Pocono. It'll also be a 100-lapper. All events in the NASR voted series are 100 laps. We'll be at Pocono next week. 2 weeks' time, we'll head to Michigan. 3 weeks on the 16th of November in Las Vegas. And we'll close the season out half distance at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway for a 250-mile showdown to decide it all. Speaking of deciding it all, little bit of history on this track. It was opened in 1996. Now, that is not the beginning of racing here in Texas. There was at one point a 2-mile oval, which was a twin to Michigan, located in College Station. So within the Texas Triangle between Houston, Austin, and Dallas. But that track fell on some hard times financially in the early 80s. It lost its Winston Cup and USAC, then CART dates, and became more or less a test facility. At one point, the outright world closed course speed record was held with an IndyCar at Texas World Speedway by none other than Jeff Andretti, who drove a Pagan Racing Lola Buick in 1993. And yes, it was the same Lola Buick that you are thinking about, Roberto Guerrero's car from the year before, to a lap at better than 234 miles an hour in private testing. This track, though, built in 1996, its first events were held in 1997. The first iteration of this track, Ryan, was we'll say it was interesting. It featured dual banking, where it was intended that the open wheel cars would run at the bottom on the flat surface and the stock cars would run at the top on the bank surface. It did not work out very well, did it?
No, it basically ended up like Darlington.
Absolutely. So everybody ran up against the wall for those first couple of years. And then Eddie Gossage, the noted promoter of this speedway and longtime friend of open wheel racing, tore it up and made it just like Charlotte, 24 degrees of banking on both ends all the way down. And it led to some of the most exciting racing that you will ever see in an open wheel car. It also led to perhaps one of, I don't want to say darkest, but one of the oddest set of circumstances for an open wheel race, and that was the 2001 Kart Champ Car Firestone Firehawk 600K, where the race was canceled because the cars were too fast. And Ryan, you care to elaborate on that at all?
So, with steep banking and high G forces through the corners, pretty much you're pressing into the surface with multiple times your own body weight, including drawing blood from your own head, meaning that drivers were blacking out.
Yeah, it was. This was the site of what's known as the longest crash ever. Mauricio Gugelmin blacked out going into turn one, and his car came to rest near the pit entrance. He crashed for almost a consecutive mile, and the decision was made to call that race. The IndyCar Series, then known as the Indy Racing League, did race here from 1997 to 2023. This is not the only configuration of the oval. The track was redone again in 2019 into what you see now with, it's kind of oblong and oddly shaped. So turns 1 and 2, 20 degrees worth of banking, and it is wide. Turn 1 seems to stretch all the way to Arlington. It is very wide. It is somewhat flatter than the 24 degrees of banking in turns 3 and 4. 3 and 4 are somewhat more narrow, really only 2 lanes through there. You've got 3 lanes down the back, 3 lanes down the front, and they are banked at 5 degrees each. There are multiple configurations here. There is an infield road course, as well as an external 0.2 of a mile dirt track, an external 1/5 of a mile paved track, and a 4/10 mile dirt track that are also located on the facility. The current iteration is the second reconfig after, of course, the dual banking and then the Charlotte clone. The track records here, and these are measured at 1.482 miles. Now, nominally, the track was 1.5 miles for most of its existence. It has since been remeasured with lasers, 1.482 miles. The outright stock car record, the stock car record here is held by Kevin Harvick, set in 2018, 27.617, 193.185. That was on the high banked narrow version that was just like Charlotte. The IndyCar track record was set by Tony Stewart way back in 1998. Now, this is the outright record, not the this is the outright record. It happened during the race. It did not happen in qualifications. So huge draft for Tony Stewart that night. 22,972, 232.248. The outright track record, which is unofficial, was set during that ill-fated kart event in 2001 by none other than Kenny Breck, the 1998 Indianapolis 500 champion. 22,854, 233.447 miles an hour. If you were to look those up, you may see different speeds, and that's because we gave you the speeds as measured with the current and correct distance. And so qualifying is underway now. We'll go ahead and bring the header back in and let you see how the guys are doing in qualifying. I want to have a big shout out to everybody that's out there watching us. Scott in MPS, Amy Coker. Hello to everybody tuned in for the broadcast. We definitely love having you here. As you can see, a couple of minutes left in qualifying right now. LGN at the top of the board, 211.852, followed by Mark Miller, 211.350, and Scott Schrader rounds out your top three, 211.340. And that's about what we would expect here, is it not, Ryan?
Yeah, pretty much on pace for close to flat out lap around here.
Yeah, and we're not going to see a lot of flat out racing. These cars don't generate nearly the amount of downforce that the early IRL cars or the kart cars had, for that matter. And they also don't have nearly as much power. Kenny Breck's Cosworth back in 2001 was throwing down, close to 1,000 horsepower when he made that lap?
Yep.
And we're, 600 now, maybe 700. So just not close. And they don't have near the aero grip that those cars had either. If you're ever in the Speedway Museum, go look underneath one of those mid-90s kart machines. The tunnels look ridiculous, for lack of a better term. The back ends of the side pods are almost hollow. Now they're very, very, very small. LGN looks like he's going to hold the pole for right now. We're going to go have a look and see if anybody is on the speedway. Julian Altena goes to the top of the board, 211.972, watching Mason Mitchum as he slows down after his run. And here's a quick one. Josh Ward, he's a prior pole sitter. He is out of the Connor Daly livery machine and back into his own for today's event. Let's watch Josh Ward. 8 seconds left in qualifying. He's not going to get another one, but that lap is good for the pole. So right at the end of the run, 212.160, Joshua Ward goes to the top of the board, and we are not going to have any additional runners as time expires. It's a pretty tight field, Ryan.
Yeah, we're going to get seemingly a pretty close race. Because it seems like what we've seen in earlier races where they're two distinct groups of drivers. And I think they'll interact interestingly at Texas.
I'm sure they will. Here's your starting lineup for tonight's event. Josh Ward is going to be on the pole, as we just saw, 212.160. He'll be flanked by Julian Altena, 211.972 for the outside pole. Second row, Luis Gonzalez-Nunez and Akesh Rajesh. Row 3, Craig Forsyth, who finished second to me at Indianapolis in what we think may be the closest iRacing 500-mile finish. .0027 was the official margin, or about an inch and a half for me over Craig Sunday night in the Dark Horse Indianapolis 500. So Craig will go off 5th. Mark Miller 6th. Scott Schrader 7th. James Watson 8th. Row 5 is going to be Josh Cruz in 9th and Nick Wheeler in 10th. The 11th row, Dylan Brannon and Armand Juan Petrovich. 13th, Gary Lovren. 14th, Hugo Gallows, the veteran. Rob Nickel will line up 15th with Greg Robinson 16th. Baron Glover 17th. Stephen Bruner will be 18th. Iker Piguero, another very familiar name to a lot of us in the IndyCar world here on iRacing. He'll roll 19th, and league owner, the head honcho himself, Shane Coker, will round out your top 20. 21st, Angelo Espo. 22nd, Nolan Crowley. Will Stearns, last week's winner, 207.784 is good for 23rd for him. 24th, Turner Johnson. 25th, Mason Mitchum. Edson Santos is going to start 26th. I am listed on the grid for some odd reason. I did not, of course, take a qualifying lap, although maybe I should have. And we're just going to kind of watch here as the guys do their 5-minute warm-up for tonight's events. Have you been to a race here, Ryan?
No, I haven't been to Texas Motor Speedway.
So it's an awesome facility. It's very modern. You can see the condos there in turn 2, mimicking Charlotte. The grandstands along the back are gone now, of course. But when we went in 2005, 2006, it was interesting. For the IndyCar race, they would bring the drivers out through the crowd. So they would start at the top of the grandstand and walk through the crowd. And you got to remember, Texas, for a lot of its IndyCar history, drew quite well. First IRL race here. It was better than 100,000, wasn't it?
Yeah, but like at the time, 100,000 was probably a little over 50% attendance. So at the time, people didn't think that was a high number, but in the grand scheme of things, that's a lot of people.
Yeah, when they built this joint, we're watching Craig Forsyth now. We'll get the header in to tell us how much longer they've got of warm-up time. See Craig pulling it in the pit lane, practicing the pit stop marks. But when they built it, it was the second largest stadium in the world next to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Even held more people than the Tokyo Racecourse, which they've taken seats down now, and it is no longer in that group. But in its early days, this place held right around 200,000 people. I mean, it was huge.
Yeah, and off the top of my head, thinking about all the sports venues where in the DFW area, whether it be AT&T Stadium or Carter Stadium where TCU plays, or Ford where SMU plays, this place is huge compared to those football stadiums.
It is. I mean, you think about Jerry's World, right? I mean, it's 80,000, and that's one of the biggest NFL stadiums. And even in its reduced state, this joint will hold twice as many. And of course, throw in the condos and the private suites and all that; those aren't included in that number. no longer one of the biggest racetracks as far as seats. They do have the biggest television screen in the world, though. Big Hoss located along the backstretch, and somebody built a bigger one, so they're gonna enlarge it by 10% just so it retains that title.
That's impressive. That they, because upkeep on a board that size must be absurd. There's no other way around it.
Yeah, you can kind of see it, and we'll see if we can't go from the blimp and get a shot of it here. We've got the Buc-ee's machine backing into the fence, but most of these guys seem like they want to do pit stop practice. So we're headed toward the last few seconds of the open practice, and we're gonna get to the grid now. Watch them line up. There you see the giant TV in the background. Always like how they line them up here.
Yeah, there's something old school about it, like you would see it at Le Mans or something.
You know, it might add something to the show if they made the drivers run across pit lane, jump in their cars, belt in, and then take off for the start of the race. When did they quit doing that at Le Mans? You probably know more about it than I do at this point.
It was early 70s they stopped doing it. Because obviously, if you're trying to fasten belts in the heat of the moment, you're not going to do them up correctly, and you could end up like Will Power in Nashville.
Yeah, that's not a good scene. Poor Will Power, you know. But that's also scary, you know, having driven even at a very low level of racing. It'd be incredibly scary to have your belts come undone. The same thing cost AJ Allmendinger, if I remember correct, the Indianapolis 500 about 10 years ago.
Yes, and because what you're supposed to do when your belts come loose is you come in right away. You don't question it, you come in, because if you have an accident with loose belts, you're going to be severely injured at a minimum.
Yeah, the consequences for that are pretty severe, and you know, Ryan's absolutely right, although it stunk to kind of see Will Power be robbed of a chance to fight for a championship over a fluke deal like that. We've got the first three rows in order here. Of course, that's Ward on the inside of the front row on the pole position. Julian Altena to his outside, the veteran. And we're kind of seeing this same kind of thing play out even in qualifying here. We've got some of the upstarts, some of the guys that don't race this car very often, the Josh Wards, Akash Rajesses, and Mark Miller's up there. And then you've got the veterans, Julian Altena, Luis Gonzalez-Nunez, and Craig Forsyth right alongside. We were talking about this too, Ryan. You seem to think, even at 75% fuel, that the veterans might have a bigger advantage here than some of the other places.
Yeah, because they're going to be, even near the end of the runs, you're going to hit that point where your tires start heating up and you're going to be looking for grip, and the experience is going to help you out.
Green flag, green flag.
All right, well, here we go. The race is on. 100 laps at Texas in the NASR Oval Series starts now.
Yep, first time through the wide turns 1 and 2.
Down the back straight, everybody kind of fanning out. 27 cars here. That's a big field. As we watch them file through. This is the view that you would see from the grandstands, by the way, fans. There they come. There they come and there they go. 215, 220 miles an hour hauling down there into turn 1. And you do have to lift so severely here, Ryan. You get down to almost below 200 miles an hour going through that turns 1 and 2 area.
Yeah, where a lot of times after the second kink in the quad oval, that's when I lift. So I get the car down the speed on the entry to 1, because you never, if you're slowing in the middle of 1, it's too late.
Yeah, and I like to even put a little bit of rear bias in it, just kind of drag the brakes a little bit. Say hello to Amy Coker in the audience. She's watching Shane, of course. We'll give you a view of what that turn 1 and 2 deal looks like from onboard Craig Forsyth. He's currently 4th And there's the disparity in lines. That's Luis Gonzalez Nunez way up where people named Gant, Petty, Earnhardt Jr., and Kyle Larson like to ride. Craig down on the bottom. You get the view from Luis as he rides in third place. See if he does it again.
Manning out across the track.
Absolutely. So we're going to go back a little bit. That Scott Schrader, he's battling with James Watson on the inside. That is the head of Team Watson. We haven't seen James around in quite a while, so it's good to see Mr. Watson out here. He's running a solid 6th. He's followed by Scott Schrader in 7th, Mark Miller in 8th, Nick Wheeler in 9th, Josh Cruz in 10th, and that is the same. And we've got a car on the wall.
All right, man. Caution is out. Caution is out.
We've got a couple of them. That's that's Scott Schrader that we were watching. Excuse my voice. And there's another automobile that is also down there and hurt, and that's going to be the 07 of Akash Rajesh. And let's see what befell these two automobiles. Watching Akash Rajesh here. Started from 4th. I got a dime that says he's going to get loose right here. And Ryan and Didi does. They both did the same thing, almost synchronized spinning. Ryan, talk about what causes that. You get loose coming off a turn 2 like that.
Usually, it's because you're trying to fight the fact that 1 and 2 has less banking. So you put in a couple too many clicks on the weight jacker. So by the time you come around, the car is a lot looser than it should be, all because you wanted to keep your foot down longer.
Yeah, and you can throw a little bit too much weight jacker at it sometimes too. We've got one car headed down pit lane. That's going to be Dylan Brannon. Let's see if anybody else joins him. We're under caution 8 laps into this 100-lap event. Now, it's worth bringing the rules back up, and they're in the schedule. They've got 3 sets of tires available in the pit lane with 75% fuel and 1 quick repair. Others on pit lane going to join Dylan. Scott Schrader, of course, he's in along with Akash Rajesh, Edson Santos, and Ashton Cosner on the pit lane. Tires do matter here quite a bit. You would think, though, that with that amount, with 75% fuel, you're probably looking at what, 35, 40 laps, maybe max, Ryan?
Probably around there, yeah. Because at that point, I think we're at the point where, topping up the tank might actually be a big advantage because of the fuel limit.
Yeah, it's going to get you an extra 10 laps. And what that's really going to do, and especially if you're a veteran guy like Edson Santos, if you understand how to control the car and manage your tires, and you can do that extra 10 laps, it's going to make your car an absolute bullet come the end of the race. Where some of these other guys might not, they might not have to save a little bit of fuel to make it on 2 stops. Edson's going to be absolutely able to let it rip, and he's going to have a new pair of shoes on that car. Scott Schrader did take his fast repair. Akash Rajesh still sits on pit lane along with Nelson Macias. Neither one of them have taken their fast repair as of now.
But one of the other things about topping off the tank and getting that 10-lap advantage, you're also going to be in the catbird seat during the traditional, the Strat 1 pit window when everyone else is coming in and also coming out. And if there's a caution there, there's a chance you could put a large percentage of the field a lap down. Yeah,
and that's the other thing. You do lose about a lap and a half here. It is a longer pit road. Speed limit, if memory serves, is 55, and so long pit road, 55 miles an hour. And we're running laps here in the 23-second range. It doesn't take long to lose a lap or 2 on pit road, especially if you miss it. The other thing is, it is a very difficult pit road, not only to get on just because of the transition, but to get off.
Yeah, because The exit here isn't as treacherous as it used to be, but you have to go all the way around 1 and 2, and it is hard to do it at full throttle.
Yeah, it's really it's slick down there, but the thing that always gets me, and we'll see if we can't show it from Josh Ward's on board here. You're coming through the dog leg on top of the leader, following the pace car. See if the lights go out. They do. But what we're talking about, if you see the cone there at the end of pit road, and there's the solid line, so you got to stay below that line all the way through 1 and 2. It is very narrow. It is very slick, and it's really kind of tight. You got to be careful not to hit the inside wall, but you got to go clear down to Ryan. We can't even see it yet.
It's a long way.
It's a long way down here. You got to go all the way down to here, where that blue cone is.
Light you back on the pace car. We're not going green this time. We are not going.
Lights have gone back on the pace car. Rakesh Rajesh is going to re-enter the fray.
And you know it's a tight exit because the cone isn't on the track. They just have it perched up on the wall.
Yeah, you see Rakesh Rajesh coming down through there, and let's, while we're under caution, let's get a replay, and I'll kind of show you show the fans at home what we're talking about. And this is half speed now too, on board Rakesh Rajesh. It's not much wider than the car, and you got to go all the way around there. Of course, yellow's out, so he's not in any hurry, but it can be treacherous when you're trying to leave it.
Yeah, we're not going green. They've extended the caution because the field wouldn't get in the single file.
Yeah, and that's something you always got to kind of look at when you've got a newer league and maybe newer drivers to the car. Maybe some of these guys are used to, maybe they're used to stock cars where you restart 2x2. Not so in IndyCar. We do not do things shootout style. Everybody single file, as you were on the track. So lap cars don't have to go to the back either, unless it's the final 10 laps. And that can be a challenge for guys that don't race the car very often. Tell you who does race the car very often and has not only a wealth of talent for himself, he's got a pretty good team too. That's James Watson, the Team Watson Racing Setups, number 39, IR18, driven by James Watson, teammate, of course, with Nick Sudik, familiar face on the Top Split broadcast. Nearly made the Pro Series. He only missed that by, a couple of spots, didn't he, Ryan?
Yeah.
Always good to see guys from the community make that. I had no shot because I can't turn right, but they seem to be in a lot better formation now. As you see, Barney has the green flag in the air, and away we go. Doesn't take long to get around here, does it? Caution is out.
And it doesn't take long for the caution to come back out.
So we've got Will Stearns with a sojourn through the grass. Let's see how Will got there here. Coming off of turn number 4. He gets down.
Oh, there was a separate incident.
Ooh. Let's see what we can see here. Looking at Mason Mitchum. All right, so we've got one car got up in the fence, tagged another automobile, and that's Dylan Brannon going down the front stretch. Nolan Crowley and Dylan Brannon crashed heavily on the front. Will Stearns was a completely separate deal, but a wild ride for the number 4 car, Dylan Brannon. He gets upside down in the orange and blue machine. And that's going to be Nolan Crowley up against the fence. Both of their days are going to be severely impacted here as we get back under caution. 15 laps complete, and this only helps those guys. Edson Santos back on pit lane for a splash of fuel. Scott Schrader is going to come in. This only helps those guys that stop for gas now.
Yeah, because with the incident we just saw, like, running the quad oval in the IndyCar at Texas is surprisingly tricky to do side by side, because you obviously can't run the quad oval based on the lines on the track. So you have to use your judgment to know how much room is enough room.
Well, not only that, and hi, Amy. We thank you so much for watching. The car gets really light through there on a couple of different occasions. Either on cold tires, it can get really light, and certainly running around under caution, it's going to be light. But then also late in the run, the car it does not want to stick. You almost float through there.
Yeah, I'd say that's a pretty apt description, because it can be tricky. And I think that point, what we saw, Dylan clearly had a run. He was looking for something, and the door shut on him at the worst possible moment.
Most certainly did. Watching the leader, Josh Ward, Julian Altena in the VOR machine is second. LG and our good friend Luis Gonzalez Nunez is third. Craig Forsyth is fourth. That's in the blue and white players livery, reminiscent of Jacques Villeneuve, Greg Moore, other great Canadian drivers. Fifth is going to be James Watson. That is the highlighter yellow and green machine. At least his car doesn't have any pink on it like Sudik's. Shout out to our good, well, it's got a little bit, but shout out to our good friend Nick Sudik. Hopefully he's out there watching. Mark Miller is sixth. He's going to be in the maroon, black, and white brass Pro Shops machine. Nick Wheeler seventh in the royal purple, gold and purple Dallara. Josh Cruz is ninth. And then Outburgers on the side of the number 22, or excuse me, eighth. Gary Lovern is ninth. And Gary, a lot to run for here. He is third in the points. And then another veteran name that we don't talk about very much, the number 57, Hugo Galez, will round out your top 10. Good to see Hugo in the field. He's been going fast and having some fun lately. I'd like to see him, you shouldn't, knock on wood, no broadcaster's curse rhyme, but you'd like to see a guy like Hugo run well.
Yeah.
There's the number 6 of Rob Nickel, very colorful rainbow-hued Visa machine. Armand Juan Petrovich in the number 96. 13th is Shane Coker. P1 Broadcasting on the side of the highlighter yellow Votive Racing League's Dallara. 14th, the Kyle Larson liveried 00 of Greg Robinson, and it always excites Gary Godso to see a Kyle Larson machine out on a racetrack. And so, Gary, we have it. He's 14th. Greg Robinson, 15th. The number 20, that's the green of Stephen Bruner. Number 91 of Turner Johnson is 16th. Baron Glover, 17th. Iker Piguero, 18th. That's the Buc-ee's machine, the 09. 19th, Ashton Kosner. And 20th, Mason Mitchum. 21st, Edson Santos. Lerner Energy on the side of that car. Familiar sight to all of us in the iRacing IndyCar community. Scott Schrader, 22nd in the 74. Will Stearns has lost a lap. He's 23rd. Nelson Macias has also lost a lap. He is 24th. As the green flag comes out, racing is going to resume, and we are already hot and heavy at the front of this field. Josh Ward, heck of a jump. He gaps Julian Altena. Luis Gonzalez Nunez third, Forsyth fourth, and Watson fifth.
All right, man. Caution is out. Caution is out.
Yep. Yellow out again.
Now it's going to be for the Rob Nickel machine. And I'm gonna hazard a guess that contact with the turn 2 wall was involved here.
Yep. Pushed out wide into the wall and then speared into the inside wall while also sending another car for a wild trip.
Yeah, the second car looked like he got a little bit of net code, but that's classic Texas. You saw Rob Nickel go down in there, following Hugo Galez, and it looked like he just got a face full of dirty air, couldn't turn the car on exit, tapped the outside wall, and that just shoots you right down to the inside wall. That's almost exactly, by the way, how the longest accident happened with Mauricio Gugelmin. He touched the outside wall off of 2 after he blacked out, came down, hit the inside wall, the throttle stuck, and he came to rest at the end of pit road where we are now. We do have Edson Santos, Scott Schrader, Nelson Macias on the pit lane. Akash Rajesh is back in. Now, Macias, Stearns, and Rajesh, they are 1 and 2 laps down, respectively. Rajesh being 2 laps down, Macias and Stearns 1 lap in arrears. But again, we've got some takers. Cosner, Mitchum, Santos, and Schrader, the lead lap cars that are taking gas. Again, 20 laps down, 80 to go. You can now make it probably pretty comfortably, and I would assume something pretty close to full rich, wouldn't you think?
Yeah, you could push it. And you could push it if you're experienced enough. You don't want to be pushing full throttle on exit behind another car.
Yeah, Texas though, it can be a place that you can keep up reasonably well. You can get some free speed off of the cars in front of you if you're in a draft. Light's still on the pace car. You can get some free speed off the cars in front of you. So if you need to fuel map it a little bit and you're comfortable in traffic and your car's handling good, you've got a pretty good shot at keeping up with somebody, even saving a little bit of gas. Riding atop the leader, Josh Ward. The light's still on the pace car, so we're going to have a couple of more laps here, at least, as they file through turns 1 and 2. So I mentioned the thing where they brought the drivers down through the stands here, which was always kind of a cool thing. Probably the funniest thing I've ever seen was the Texas Trophy presentation. So when you win a race in Nashville, you get a Gibson Les Paul guitar, which Kyle Busch famously tried to smash, and that went over about as well as a lead balloon. But at Texas, tell them what they've won, Ryan.
Don't you want a pair of revolvers at Texas?
That's right. If you win a race at the Texas Motor Speedway, you get two Colt 44 caliber revolvers, and it's always amusing to watch the IndyCar drivers when they get those things, because Scott Dixon has to be the funniest man holding a pair of revolvers that I've ever seen, wearing a cowboy hat in my life. Scott, if you're out here watching the multiple Texas races he's won, go back and look at the pictures. It looks like a fish out of water. Ed Carpenter, who is from Indiana and has been known to enjoy the out of doors. Also a pretty good picture. Tony Kanaan. But you go back and look them up. The NASCAR guys, they look right at home with the Colts. The IndyCar drivers are somewhat of a little bit more humorous, wearing a cowboy hat and holding 6-shooters.
clearly a bit of a cultural divide.
Just a little bit. The other thing is, it's not just that they give you the guns; you gotta fire them, right?
Oh yeah,
The loaded with blanks, of course, but that's the first thing everybody says when they roll into victory lane here. That they get out of the car, and the first thing is they want the guns. Probably one of the more unique trophies in all of motor racing, the pistols at Texas. Field slowly rolling through turn 3. Josh Ward, your leader. Julian Altena second. Luis Gonzalez Nunez third. Craig Forsyth fourth. James Watson is fifth. Mark Miller, Nick Wheeler, Josh Cruz, Gary Lovern, and Hugo Gallows round out your top 10. Shane Coker is 11th, followed by Greg Robinson, Stephen Bruner, Turner Johnson, and Baron Glover 15th. Iker Piguero, Ashton Kosner, Edson Santos, Mason Mitchum, Nelson Macias, and Scott Schrader round out the lead lap cars, and we're back under green. Racing resumes at Texas, lap 22 of 100. Watching Craig Forsyth work himself to the outside of Luis Gonzalez Nunez, pulls out of the draft alongside to the outside through turns 1 and 2. Let's see who's willing to use the most tire to get through 1 and 2, and it's going to be LGN. Stands on the gas, plants it on the bottom, slides up in front of Craig.
Ooh, hard crash. Right, 2 cars off.
Caution is out.
And I believe that is our leader, Josh Ward. And I once again have a shiny new dime that says I know what happened before it even does there, Ryan. He's coming off of turn 2. Gets it loose, taps the outside wall with the right rear, and around she goes. Tough end of the day. And then LGN is going to be involved. He gets into it.
Yeah, LGN pushes wide into the wall, and then I think it's Forsyth comes in behind him, touches him, and spears off into the inside wall. Oh.
What a tough break for Luis Gonzalez Nunez. See if we can't... So that was a separate thing. Let's watch it. Let's actually watch this from his gearbox. I think there's a bit of net code here from Craig Forsyth coming off the corner. No, he hits it. Okay. He hits it, and then Craig touches the rear. And then Luis. Hard impact for the number 14. He's obviously going to be headed back to the pit lane to be under repair. One more time. Looked like Forsyth lost a wing in that fracas too.
Yeah, I think so.
So that's going to put Julian Altena in the number 11 machine in the lead. Greg Robinson is second. Turner Johnson third. Edson Santos has made it back up to fourth. And Nelson Macias going to round out your top 5. Mason Mitchum is 6th. James Watson 7th. Gary Lovern 8th. Nick Wheeler 9th. Josh Cruz 10th. Craig Forsyth is going to be 11th. He stopped and was under repair. It did not take his fast repair, by the way, so just a new front wing for Craig. Mark Miller 12th. Hugo Gallows 13th. Shane Coker 14th. Stephen Bruner 15th. Baron Glover 16th. Scott Schrader is going to be 17th. Iker Piguero 18th. Josh Ward 19th. Ashton Kosner will round out your top 20. 1 lap down Akash Rajesh. Dylan Brandon 2 laps down. Armanzwan Petrovic in 23rd. And Luis Gonzalez Nunez in 24th. All 2 laps down. I don't know that LGN has made it off a pit lane yet. That's a pretty lengthy tow from the back there. He might lose 2 or 3 more here. Tough break for Luis Gonzalez Nunez. Also,
Yeah,
go ahead.
it's going to be a long way back, even with the quick repair.
Even with a quick repair and the lucky dog, you would anticipate. Well, Rajesh will get his back in the next caution, but poor Luis, he's going to need some wave around, some lucky dogs, and a lot of luck to get back here. The other thing is, Altena Robinson and Johnson did not stop under that last caution. Neither did Santos or Macias, but they stopped under the caution before. Everybody from Watson on back has been to pit road. And so keep an eye out on the 39 machine of James Watson, because he's going to have the new pair of boots on the number 39 machine, and there it is. Highlighter yellow, green, some pink lettering, James Watson and the Team Watson Racing entry. It's so good to see that car on the track, by the way.
Yeah.
One more lap under yellow here before we go back to green. Be interesting to see, one, what James does with his fresh tires against Julian Greg Robinson and Turner Johnson, as well as Santos and Nelson Macias. Now, Santos and Macias only have a couple of green flag laps on their rubber, but that does matter, does it not?
It does matter because, well, obviously not at racing speeds yet. The tires aren't absolute cold. They'll be easier to heat up.
They are. They're not going to have the absolute grip once they've been scuffed and you've knocked the shine off of them. They don't grip quite as well. The nice thing is they're at least up to pressure, so you don't have to worry about the cold tire, cold pressure thing. So they're at least a little bit up to pressure. The other bit is that they're going to grip up a little bit faster, so you don't have to worry as much about going through turns 1 and 2. Usually you like to feed that thing a little bit of negative weight jacker going through there the first time. Julian, Greg, and Turner aren't going to have to worry about that as much because their tires are already a little bit warmer. They're still going to be cool. They cool off under yellow, but they're not going to be the soft bricks, so to say, that are on the car of James Watson. There comes the iRacing pace car. Barney has the green flag in the air. What do you say we get this thing going for real now, Ryan?
Green, green, green.
I hope so. I hope so. Made it one lap.
We made it one lap. Julian Altena leads it. He's pulled out to a second lead over Greg Robinson and Edson Santos, and that is where the hornet's nest begins. Edson going to dive it down to the bottom on Greg Robinson through 3 and 4. Will Stearns just checked in the chat. He is out of the race. Julian Altena just ran the fastest lap. And we've got them stacked up all over the speedway here. It's Nelson Macias trying to ride the high line to glory, Ryan.
I think he might make it work here.
He got past Turner Johnson. He got past Greg Robinson. So there's Nelson Macias. Pulls up on the back of fellow Brazilian Edson Santos. Swings it. I'm going to call that the middle groove here.
Yeah, that's about the middle.
About the middle. James Watson works his way past Robinson. Now Watson is the first car with the fresh rubber. Robinson and Turner Johnson are dropping to the back. I don't want to say like a stone, but they're going back there in a hurry. A little bit further back, there's Nick Wheeler. He's battling with Gary Lovren. That is 7th and 8th on the racetrack. Good to see Nick out tonight. regular in the Top Split broadcast on Tuesday evenings. Purple and gold, number 77 machine. Now, what Craig is doing here in ninth is telling me something. And what do you think it's telling me, Ryan?
I'm not quite sure what you're seeing.
So there was a really long coast phase going into turn one. He let it go all the way down to fifth gear on the bottom. He's going to fourth gear in turns 3 and 4. Craig is one of those guys that knows how to run the high side here. He is not doing so, though. He is sticking right around to the bottom, and he's lifting early. He's got a long coast phase. He's not really pushing the car off the bottom. That tells me that Craig Forsyth might be trying to make this in one more stop.
That's a possibility. That is definitely a possibility.
Nick Wheeler's finally going to try to dive to the inside of Gary Lovern, see if he can make it stick going down into turns 1 and 2. Gary gets such a great run off the top. Nick's going to clear him, though. Just enough stick him in those new stones for Nick Wheeler. Mark him 7th, put Gary Lovern back to 8th. And they're pulling up on on Robinson and Johnson. Those two cars, and we got caution on the speedway.
Yeah, crash in the backstretch. I think it's Mark Miller.
It is going to be Mark Miller. Let's see what we can see on the 06 machine here. I believe we've seen that before. He comes off of turn number 2. He does not hit the wall, but he does spin the machine to the inside and a hard lick down the backstretch wall for Mark Miller. Kudos to him. He did attempt to get the car towed and get the car towed and get it going and out of the way, but unfortunately the yellow came out. I would wager to say we're going to see Julian on pit lane here. There comes Julian Altini. He's followed by Edson Santos. Nelson Macias is going to stay out. So we've got a split decision here, Ryan. Some came in.
I'd probably stop. I'd probably stop.
Yeah, I mean, I'm firmly in that camp. James Watson going to beat Julian Altena off of pit lane. I'm with you. I think I'm going to want the new shoes here.
Yeah, because we just had a pretty substantial green flag run. Then we had a caution. At this point, I think most of the field has bedded in, and the next green flag run could last indefinitely.
And that's very true. 60 laps, so it's an easy one-stopper for here. Nelson Macias leads it. He was last in 19 laps ago. Nick Wheeler, Gary Lovern, Craig Forsyth, Josh Cruz, Hugo Galez, Stephen Bruner, Shane Coker, Baron Glover, and Iker Peguero round out your top 10. They are also on that same pit strategy as Nick Wheeler, so they last stopped 14 laps ago, as did Ashton Kosner in 11th. So those are all 14-lap old tires. Now, you got to remember, a substantial amount of that's been under yellow. Maybe, 5 green flag laps maybe on those tires?
Yep.
Ashton Kosner now going to bring his number 34 machine to pit lane. Altena, Santos, Turner Johnson, Josh Ward, Greg Robinson, Scott Schrader, Mason Mitchum, and Akesh Rajesh going to round out your top 20, those guys are all on new tires. Luis Gonzalez Nunez is now 2 laps down, and so he's gotten 1 back. Armand Juan Petrovic is 2 laps down, as is Dylan Brandon in 23rd. Mark Miller, 24th. He is 4 laps in arrears and still on the pit lane. Will Stearns, Rob Nickel, and Nolan Crowley are all retired from the event, 25th, 26th, and 27th, respectively. If you see my name on the board, I am not racing. Thankfully, it did come off, and so don't have to worry about that. There is something that Nelson's going to have to watch out for here, though. Is there not, Ryan?
Yes. Where it's like, hopefully, the lights aren't off yet, but yeah, hopefully Nelson restarts up against the wall. And also, just be wary of the opening corners. Your car is going to be pretty loose, even in clean air.
Well, not only that, but you got to kind of really watch it. Texas, and I'm going to see if it'll show it from one of the cameras here. It doesn't really show it. It doesn't really show it, but the transition coming out of turn 4 onto the front stretch, one of the complaints about this track is on most ovals, you don't climb up onto the straightaway, but it's not as abrupt. With the quad ovals, so here, Charlotte and Atlanta, you almost fall out of the banking onto the straightaway. Turns 1 and 2 aren't as bad, but 3 and 4, it's literally like somebody yanks the rug out from under you when you come off the thing. And that's right where you want to restart in these cars. And so Nelson's going to have, he needs to be careful coming to the restart, because he could very well light the rear tires up and spin out just getting on the gas.
Yeah, I follow the old school rule is you don't turn, accelerate, or brake at the same time. That you have to do one of the 3. So I try to line up towards the finish line and just go. No steering input at all, just so every ounce of grip goes into the acceleration.
All right, there we are.
Green flag, green flag.
Green is out. Racing is going to resume here. That is a mess of cars back here around Julian Altena. This is where the fight really is. These are the cars that are on fresh tires. They're trying to get past the guys that are on the older ones. Julian Altena, 2, 3, sometimes 4 wide. Let's follow Altena as he tries to make his way back up to the front.
Yeah, just trying to find a way through.
He's got the Bucky's car of Iger Piguero up in front of him. He's going to move to the inside. Next victim is going to be Josh Ward. And poor Julian, he's just hunting for something, anything resembling clean air so he doesn't fry those new Firestones, making his way up here. Careful not to play Karen Poole with the car next to you coming off of turn 4, though.
100%.
Now watch this run he's going to get. He closed up a good 3 car lengths. And we've got a car
crash
wall
in front of him.
All right, man. Caution is out. Caution is out.
That's going to be Shane Coker and Edson Santos. Here we are down the backstretch. We're looking at Shane Coker, Edson Santos. They're right behind the 39 of James Watson. And looks like a little bit of contact there from the right front wing end plate of Edson Santos into the rear of Shane Coker. Don't know if there was a little bit of net code involved there or kind of what, but both those cars hit pretty hard. See if we can get a better angle on it for the fans at home. coming down the back. Highlighter yellow, reminiscent of some of the old Team Menard machines. And there's definitely contact between the 78 and the 32. At any rate, hard lick for both. Caution is out. We are working lap 47 of 100. Nelson Macias leads it. Nick Wheeler second. Craig Forsyth is third. Gary Logan fourth. Josh Cruz rounds out your top five. Hugo Gallows is sixth. Stephen Bruner is seventh. Those cars have all been out 21 laps or longer. Nelson Macias 26 laps on his current run. James Watson, Josh Ward, and Julian Altina will round out your top 10. Those cars have mostly fresh tires. They've only got a couple of green flag laps on theirs. They're followed by Baron Glover and Iker Peguero, 11th and 12th. They have 21 laps on their current runs. Ashton Kosner, Turner Johnson, Greg Robinson have all recently stopped with Altina, Ward, and others. Just on pit lane to top up the fuel tank, Edson Santos, Akash Rajesh did take tires. Scott Schrader, gas only. They are the 18 that are on the lead lap. Luis Gonzalez Nunez has now made it to one lap down. So one more yellow, and Luis will be back on the lead lap. Armand Juan Petrovich is 20th. He is 2 laps in arrears. As is Dylan Brandon in 22nd. Shane Coker, he still sits on pit road 22nd. 23rd, Mason Mitchum, 3 laps down. Mark Miller, 24th. He is 10 laps down. Stearns, Nickel, and Crowley are out of the race. 47, about to be 48 laps into 100 here in the NASR Votive Texas 150. Do want to give a shout out to Shane Coker. They put up a random drawing in this series to anybody who runs 5 of the 7 races. There is a random $50 drawing. So if you ran week 1, didn't show up last week or this week, you're still in the running to win those $50. But you do have to run the remainder of the races here. That would only be open to guys who run 5 of the 7 weeks. And so that's a pretty interesting pool.
Yeah, it's a way to encourage participation for the whole year. Wish more series did that.
Yeah, and that's something that that I thought was a really good idea when Shane said it. And he said he might do more than one, but in a lot of leagues, even in the higher end ones, you do see a lack of participation once the championship and the money positions have kind of been decided, and certainly there is a prize for the end of this one. You see the participation kind of drop off. I've been in races in other leagues where, the last race might be at a popular track, but they can only get 10 or 12 guys to show up. Not so here in this series, because it keeps showing up. You got a chance to win some money no matter how good you run.
Now, one of the things that Texas Motor Speedway has become known for is their marketing. And in recent years, actually close to 10 years now, they've run under the branding of No Limits Texas. And I found a press release from 2014 when the track announced that they had formed an unincorporated town called No Limits Texas around the track, which obviously was satire. They did not actually do this.
Yeah, that reeks of Eddie Gossage, doesn't it? Eddie Gossage, of course, a longtime promoter here, right-hand man of Bruton Smith at Speedway Motorsports. Eddie Gossage, by the way, got his start as a Firestone tire rep at the Indianapolis 500. So it was his job to take care of the guys that ran Firestones at Indianapolis in the 1960s, and he plays a prominent part in the book Black Noon about the Eddie Sachs, Greg McDonald crash. He was one of the primary sources for that book. If you haven't read it, such a great source of information about early 1960s IndyCar racing, and not just the cars, but the politics and the characters, and what characters they were. As we head back, the green flag is in the hands of Barney, and let's hope it stays there, Ryan.
I do hope so.
Love that speed shot so much going through the start-finish line. It gives you a glimpse at just kind of how fast these cars are going. Steven Bruner under attack from James Watson. That's the battle on the speedway. That is 8th, 9th, and Julian Altina in 10th. And those are the cars, Watson and Altina, that are on the fresh rubber. They need to get going here.
Yeah, and the one thing that it's hard to tell from most of the camera angles is how, not only how fast you're going, but how narrow this track feels when you're going 200 miles an hour.
Well, let's we don't do this one very often, but let's ride in the cockpit. Let's see what Julian Altina is seeing out the aero screen of that number 11. Of course, there's nothing on the dash. They don't let us see that. But look how wide 1 and 2 appear to be. And how narrow 3 and 4 are by comparison. It's kind of stark.
Yeah, and because of how fast you're moving, like, yes, these cars have wings, they have shaped underfloors, like a lot of downforce, but these cars don't feel that agile at speed. Because 3 and 4, to me, always feels like definitely only 2 lanes. Even though from the outside, you think you could go 3 wide there.
Yeah, but you really can't. 3 and 4 are very, very narrow. Turns 1 and 2 you can go pretty wide through. Julian Altina, I think, has been studying my telemetry from that Indy Elite Series race because he has that car high, wide, and handsome. He has gone by Gallas and Watson, and he's now looking at Josh Ward and Josh Cruz. So a pair of Joshes in front of the VOR Series owner. He'll move it into 6th place around Josh Ward. Looking for 5th on Josh Cruz. Look at that run he gets going down the back. Just no defense there for Josh Cruz going into turn 3. Julian was a good 10 miles an hour faster by virtue of using that high line and the new tires. He's going to go to 5th. Next up on the hit parade for Julian Altina is teammate Gary Lovern.
And yeah, that 10 mile an hour delta, that's like the kind of overspeed you need to really make a slam dunk pass around here. Because other than that, you'll end up stalled out, running side by side, lap after lap, and you put yourself in a lot of danger doing that.
You do, and so I'm gonna have a look at it here. Coming off the corner, Julian is running 217. Lovern's top speed down the back was 207, 208.
Wow.
Julian, of course, a veteran of these open wheel wars. That is a teammate, and huge advantage for Julian, Josh Ward, and James Watson. If they can get past Gary Lovern, there is quite a bit of room up to the next car. Nick Wheeler is about a second ahead of them, so they're going to have some clean air before they get to Wheeler, Forsythe, and then Macias in the lead. The other thing is that Macias has been out 39 laps, Forsythe and Wheeler 34. Those guys are going to be due for gas here any minute.
All right, man, caution.
We got a caution.
Oh, we got a caution.
That changes things a little bit.
It's LGN in the turn 2 wall.
I think he might have had some assistance there. I'm watching Ashton Cosner.
Oh, a lot of help.
See what befalls our friend Luis Gonzalez Nunez. Yeah, so that's going to be who was the car right in front of him? It wasn't Mason Mitchum. It was the 98 machine. It's 96. That's
Yeah,
Armand's
96.
Armand's one Petrovic. So way back machine one more time. When Petrovic comes off at turn 4, taps the wall, gets it loose, and just nowhere to go for LGN. And that's going to end the night for the number 14 machine one. Petrovic is going to head back to the pit lane for further repair. That's going to put Craig Forsyth, Nick Wheeler, and pretty much everybody else onto the pit lane.
Because, yeah, we're at the point where we're going to be under 40 to go and we go green.
So theoretically, we can all make it from here. Forsyth is going to win the race off of pit road, I believe, followed by Macias. Altena is going to be third. Wheeler fourth. Or, excuse me, Edson Santos did not stop as we watch everybody file away. So Santos is going to have the lead. Forsyth is going to be second. Nelson Macias is going to be third. Julian Altena fourth. Nick Wheeler fifth. And we've got some lap cars there that are in between all of the leaders. That is the number 3 machine. That's going to be Mason Mitchum. He's looking to get a lap back, as is the 32 of Shane Coker. So those two guys want to see Nelson Macias pull this thing down pit road here.
Oh, without a doubt.
Or Edson Santos, rather. I don't really... well, here comes the 3. So Mason Mitchum is going to bring his car to pit lane. Shane Coker is going to stay out. The lucky dog there would have gone to Dylan Brannon. It's worth noting the cars that have used their fast repairs. So Edson Santos leading the race has used his. Nelson Macias third. Nick Wheeler in 5th. Josh Ward in 7th. So those are the cars in the top 10 that have used their fast repairs. As has Akesh Rajesh in 13th. Scott Schrader in 16th. Dylan Brannon, Shane Coker, and Mason Mitchum have also used theirs, as has Armand Juan Petrovic. But there are cars up front, and you got to be careful in a league with fast repairs. You got to be careful if you've already used yours, especially in this car, because you hit something. These Dallara IR18s no longer like it. New damage model, of course, I'm referencing. Ryan, have you raced with the new damage model on this car?
No, I actually haven't yet. It's been a while since I've done a race.
So the handling characteristics of the car with the new build, they're very similar to what we're used to. But the way they react when they hit things is very, very different. And so it used to be possible to hit especially the rear of the car fairly hard. You wouldn't necessarily break anything. Well, now the rear tires fold up just like the old ones. It's much easier to get damage to the floor if you hit a curb too hard. Things like that. Also, the rear wing breaks a lot easier with contact. And so you got to be careful. Just wing changes, body work, that doesn't take an awfully long time in these cars. But if you hurt the floor, you're pretty much stuck.
Yeah, you're done. You can't repair that.
Yeah. And so you got to be careful. Guys that have used their fast repairs, of course, do want to be cautious and careful. They've got 35 more laps to go here. Not really sure on the strategy for Santos, though. 17 laps out. He's got 35 to go. There's not really a way he can make this, is there?
No, it would take a catastrophic string of cautions that I've never seen before to make it from here.
Yeah, it's he's gonna have to make a stop under green. Maybe he's thinking, we'll go 10 more laps, get another yellow. Some of these guys back behind him, they may have used their final set of tires. That's another consideration. He may not have any tires left to take. Remember, he was on pit road several times early in the race. He may be down to one set and he just doesn't want to use them yet, maybe.
That is true.
Whatever for Santos, he's going to lead him back to green here. Forsyth, Macias, Altena, and Wheeler, your top 5.
Green, green, green.
green is out, and racing will resume. 65 of 100 complete here at the Texas Motor Speedway. They're fairly orderly here. The nearest battle on the track coming out of that restart is going to be Turner Johnson getting around Akash Rajesh. That's 13th and 14th. Everybody up front, though, fairly spread out. Julian Altena still working that high side, Ryan.
Yeah, at the sharper end of the field, more experienced drivers, it's going to be less of an advantage. It'll still help him a lot.
Now let's watch this. So Nelson Macias is going to go to the inside of Craig Forsyth. He's going to get a face full of dirty air from fellow Brazilian Edson Santos. Forsyth is going to hold on to second, but that's going to give Julian Altena a massive run down the back. Going to kind of follow this battle here. Second, third, and fourth. Forsyth, Macias in the middle. Julian Altena is the caboose on that train. And that's Altena, the corner of your screen, all the way at the top of the racetrack. Macias run in the middle. Craig Forsyth is on the bottom. So what do you think we're seeing here, Ryan? You think you got varying degrees of saving, or is the saving done?
I think the saving's done for these guys up front. I think it's more about maintaining track position and looking for the clean air, which is why we see them always fanning out through that first corner with Julian going to the highest, because he's the furthest back in line.
Yeah, we got a battle for the lead. Craig Forsyth pulls the 99 to the top of the speedway. He's going to get alongside Edson Santos for the lead of the event. Watching Craig and Edson as they battle. We were on board with Craig Forsyth as he set that move up going through turns 1 and 2. Doesn't quite have the mustard to finish the sandwich. He's going to fall back in line. He's going to go right back to the top. Now, I'll say this, Ryan. What Craig is doing can be faster, but it is also a little bit more difficult on the tires to run that high line side by side like that lap after lap.
Yeah, because you're putting so much strain in the tire, because unlike the guy on the inside who is probably having the lift to hold his line, you have to keep your foot pinned to the floor.
Not necessarily pinned to the floor. You do have to drive it in a little bit deeper, and you don't drive it off the right rear as much. You're feeling it with the right front rather than the right rear. You watch Craig, and he's just going to kind of settle in here. We'll go back and have a look at Nick Wheeler and Julian Altena. Or excuse me, Altena and Nelson Macias. Macias doing a good job of denying Julian his preferred line there. You don't want to call that blocking, but it's creative use of the arrow to keep the guy behind you, is it not?
Yeah, I like to call it shading, where you're covering them off, but not aggressively.
Ooh, Nelson Macias just hit the wall a little bit coming off of turn 2. See if Julian can take advantage of that. That's going to slow Macias down just a little bit. Big speed advantage for Julian Altena as they get to turn 3, but he's going to back out of it a little bit. Coming back, we're going to have 25 to go this time by. 26 to go this time by, rather. A little bit further back here, Josh Ward, and that is your points leader. He's looking at Nick Wheeler for 5th and is behind this battle for the battle between Altena and Macias. Just not quite enough as the tires age, is it?
Oh, if I was in his position, I'm mainly thinking about just hanging on close until the final round of pit stops. If we have a chance for a final round of stops, because we could go green to the end.
We could, if and that's kind of the strategy of it when you've got limited tire sets. When do you take that last set? Optimally, you'd love to leave one set behind the wall for something like a 10-lap trophy dash maybe. But you got to get that 10-lap trophy dash to make that work. And honestly, there are no refunds here. I mean, they're not gonna give you the money back. Watching the car, Josh Cruz, Julian Altina has disconnected.
Ooh, that is unfortunate.
Don't know what happened to Julian. Let's see if we can figure it out here. Was that a packet loss or was it?
Yeah, it seems like it was not a manual disconnect. His car just vanished.
Yep. So that is not a manual retirement. That is the internet gods not on the side of Julian Altina this evening. We'll go back up front. Edson Santos leads Craig Forsyth, Nelson Macias, and Nick Wheeler. Josh Ward 5th, Watson 6th, Gary Lobern 7th, Hugo Gallas. Fine run for the veteran in 8th, Josh Cruz 9th. Stephen Bruner is going to round out your top 10. There is a battle brewing for Bruner, though. He's got Baron Glover right behind him trying to sneak into that top 10. All the way to the high side there for Stephen Bruner. My goodness. So hard to make that run stick all the way through turns 3 and 4, though, isn't it, Ryan?
Yeah, it's definitely hard to make it stick, especially on worn tires.
I think he might have a shot here. He's going to go to the outside. He's going to get a big, big run down the back. But he has to come out of the power just enough, does the 20 of Bruner, and that's going to let Josh Cruz have the inside going into turn 3. Ideally, to make that work, you want to come off, get the suck from the car in front as they go down the back, and then pop to the inside so you have the advantage going through 3 and 4, ideally.
Yes, ideally, and you have to be close enough to make that move work.
Well, he just did make it work. Bruner must be listening to the broadcast because he just drove to the bottom of Josh Cruz and into 9th place. And now Baron Glover is going to be looking at Cruz for the final spot in the top 10. Meanwhile, Nick Wheeler has caught Josh Ward. This is Wheeler in 5th, Ward in 4th. These guys have kind of lost touch with Macias, Forsyth, and Santos, who are all pretty evenly separated. There's 7/8 tenths between those cars, so this is the closest battle of the front runners. It's going to be Wheeler in 5th, Josh Ward in 4th. Wheeler wants it. He is 5th. And then James Watson sneaking in your picture. That's the highlighter yellow and green machine. He runs 6th. Not really seeing a lot of offset lines from this group. They all seem to be fairly content to run the bottom here, Ryan. Going to go back to the battle for 10th. Cruz and Glover. Knockdown, drag-out fight. Julian has reconnected and is back on the speedway, though. He is 8 laps in arrears. Tough break for Julian Altena. Right on board with Baron Glover a little bit as he battles Steven Bruner. That is, Josh Cruz. He has made the pass on Cruz now. Baron Glover will move into the final spot in the top 10. He's got some work ahead of him, though. He's over a second behind Steven Bruner. And Julian Altena has come back onto the track. And I think Julian is just... you think there's a little bit of red mist behind the helmet of the 11 car there?
Yeah, because over the open radio channel, he said what happened. Apparently, it was a problem with the service. His connection didn't drop. He just got booted to the replay screen.
Oh no! So that's no fun. Poor Julian, and I know Julian really well. I was teammates with him for a year. He's probably seething internally. He just came out and cut the fastest lap of the race by quite a bit. He's the only car thus far to turn a lap in the 24-second bracket. Well, 4 guys have, but Julian's the first one to break into the 24.8s. Translates to about 211 miles an hour. Whoa! Whoa, 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 everybody, hold on. Josh Cruz and Baron Glover just about came to it. That's going to let Rajesh sneak through into 11th, and now we've got trouble.
All right, man, caution is out.
Josh Cruz backed it hard into the fence. Now, what's the bet that something on that car was broke from the contact earlier?
Oh, 100% something had to be broken. It's just when you think you get away from a caution.
Go back in the Wayback Machine here. Now this started clear back here, right? So this all happened. So you've got, he gets loose, tagged by Rajesh. And this is why you map the button on the steering wheel, right?
Yep.
Because he gets down into 1, and clearly there's something broken. The rear suspension. Car immediately comes around, and the In-N-Out Burger machine is, well, I don't want to say toast, but a toasted bun on that car, maybe.
Now, I also want to point out that Edson Santos was about to come down pit lane before the yellow came out, and it came out just in time for him to pull right back out into the track and avoid the potential penalty.
It is, and we do have several cars on pit lane led by Edson Santos. You just saw it. That is the number 78 Lerner Energy machine. He's coming back out. Several cars did stop there. Santos, Macias, Watson, Lovern, Scott Schrader, Josh Cruz, of course. Those cars have all made their way onto the pit lane. I'd be willing to bet that Edson Santos and Nelson Macias here on this restart are going to be worth the price of admission.
Oh, definitely, because we are running out of distance until the checker.
What are we going to get? 4 to go, maybe? We're going to restart this thing?
Yeah, 4 to go, most likely.
All right, so 4 laps. Fresh Tires is 11th. Forsyth leads it from Josh Ward and Nick Wheeler. Gallo's 4th. I know we keep mentioning his name, but we haven't really talked about Hugo Gallo's that much today. Haven't shown him on the screen that much. We've called him out a few times. But Hugo Gallo is very much a veteran of these wars. Suddenly finds himself in 4th. You've got Bruner 5th, Glover 6th, Rajesh 7th, Turner Johnson 8th, Iker Piguero 9th, Greg Robinson is 10th. Those cars did not stop. They all have 33 and 34 laps on their tires, respectively. Edson Santos, James Watson, Gary Lover, and Scott Schrader, and Josh Cruz make up the balance of the top 15. Those cars do have new pair of boots. Dylan Brannon is going to get the wave around, and so he's back on the lead lap. Nelson Macias out of the race. Mason Mitchum is 18th. Shane Coker 19th. Julian Altena is 20th, although he is 8 laps in arrears. Aston Kosner and Luis Gonzalez Nunez, 21st and 22nd. They are out. Armand Juan Petrovic, kudos to him. He still soldiers around 38 laps off the pace in 23rd. Mark Miller, 24th. Will Stearns, Rob Nickel, and Nolan Crowley round out the balance of the 27-car field, all out of the race as we come to the line to get 4 to go. You know, I like the move to take tires here. I don't like restarting 11th.
Yeah, it probably wasn't the move because there's just not enough time to make up that many positions to potentially win the race.
Well, to be fair to Edson, he basically had no choice. He was bingo on fuel. Watson, though, Lovren and others, they were on the same strategy as the leaders. Maybe they thought, hey, we're in the back half of the top 10 anyway. Why not? Let's see if we can get, 4 or 5 spots maybe.
Okay, and green lasted a bit longer than expected, so we're only going to get 3 laps.
So not a natural green-white checker, a green-white checker maybe, if you want to call it that. No green-white checkers in IndyCar, thank you, Tony George and then Roger Penske.
And race control confirms that the next flag will end the race. So if there's another yellow, it is game over.
Yep. Much kudos and much respect to IndyCar for not instituting that rule. They've thrown red flags to clean up late race messes, but they've never extended the official distance, and I got to give them credit for that.
Even though I do have to chastise them a bit for their use of reds, because they intentionally do that to try to ensure a green flag finish.
They do, but to me that's better than throwing. That's better than advertising 500 miles and going 530 with unlimited crashes. Let's watch the restart here. We're going to go from the wide cam. Forsythe is going to lead it, and the guys in the back just didn't get going.
Ooh, yeah.
Big gap from P1 back to P5. That's Steven Bruner. We're going to follow, let's see, Edson Santos, and he's already carving his way up. That's past Greg Robinson. Next up on the hit parade is Iker Piguero. Steven Bruner has fallen back through the field like a stone.
2 to go.
Look at the maneuverability on Santos, but James Watson's going to win that corner. He passed 3 cars through 1 and 2. He's up to 7th. He's going to draw a beat on Akash Rajesh for 6th. He's going to run out of time. Meanwhile, we're going to go back to the leader. That's Craig Forsythe in the number 99 machine. He's going to work it off of turn 2, file down the backstretch. And if he can keep it clean, the 4D Raceware driver is going to come home and go to victory lane. Forsythe works it off of turn 4 through the quad oval, and he will win the NASR voted Texas 150, followed by Josh Ward, Nick Wheeler, Hugo Galez, and Baron Glover. Going to round out your top 5. James Watson, then Edson Santos one up each other for the fastest lap of the race. Santos is going to take the purple lap home. He's going to come home 8th. They made up 4 spots. Ryan.
If it was a 4 or 5 lap finish, they really had a good chance at a podium, but
absolutely. Craig Forsythe going to bring it down the front stretch, and let's see what Craig does to celebrate here. We know Gary is not a fan of the donuts. He likes to eat them. And Craig's gonna light the rears and make some smoky circles. So, Craig Forsyth, your winner today at Texas, and that's where he's headed. He'll get the virtual pistols. In second place, Craig led 9 laps, and only the last 9, but they were the most important. Josh Ward is second. He comes home with 22 laps led. Nick Wheeler, third, did not lead a lap, started 7th, finished 3rd, so nice move up for him. Hugo Gallows is 4th. He made up 10 spots from his starting position. Baron Glover, 5th. He made up 12. Akash Rajesh finishes 6th. James Watson, 7th. Edson Santos, 8 plus 18. And that's going to have to be the hard charger for the day, as well as the fast lap. Gary Lover, 9th. Iker Peguero is going to round out your top 10. In 11th, Turner Johnson. 12th, Greg Robinson. Stephen Bruner, 13th. Dylan Brandon, 14th. Josh Cruz, 15th. Scott Schrader, 16th. Nielsen Macias, 17th. Mason Mitchum, 18th. Shane Coker is 19th. Julian Altina, after his internet malfunction, is going to come home 20th. 21st, Ashton Kosner. 22nd, Luis Gonzalez Nunez after a late accident. Armand Swan Petrovich, 23rd. He soldiered home, 42 laps down. Good for Armand. Mark Miller, 24th. Will Stearns, 25th. Rob Nickel, 26th. Nolan Crowley, 27th. 28th, Angelo Espo did not take the start, and I did not race. Do not know why I am included, but that is the final rundown. And we'll get back here and see if we can't get some of our podium finishers out of the interview room. First up, we're going to bring in Nick Wheeler. Nick, this is Mark Murphy. Mark Murphy, Ryan Eric King in the P1 broadcasting booth. You got a copy?
I hear you.
Good deal. Well, it's been a long time coming. We finally do get to talk to you up here in the booth. Tell us about your race. I started 10th, finished 3rd. It was eventful at times.
Yeah, 1 and 2. It was really just survive 1 and 2, get your car set up to make it through 1 and 2 as best you can, and then honestly, once we finally got a long run going, it settled in, and everybody kind of started gapping, and it got comfortable. But it was really those early run tires were brutal on it.
Absolutely, Ryan. Do you have any questions for our 3rd place finisher today?
What was your game plan about handling 1 and 2? Because obviously you have a lot of real estate out there, and some people were putting their cars in different places to try to get clean air or faster exit speeds. So what was your strategy?
My strategy coming in was to run the bottom and try to save tires as much as I could, and make sure I had a spare set in the bag if we had a caution around 15-20 to go. And I ran like that. Again, we had 10 cautions. I don't even know, but I didn't really run the first set of tires down at all. So didn't even really matter until we got to the end there, and it was a matter of track position was king at the end.
As it sometimes can be, Nick. Well, congratulations on your podium run today. You have any friends, family, sponsors you'd like to give a shout out to? The floor is yours, my friend.
Yeah, shout out to Royalty Motorsports, my team, SM Racing, Button Boxes for sponsoring the car, and my family for watching.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Nick, for joining us. That is Nick Wheeler, the number 77. He's going to bring it home 3rd today at Texas. Keep going fast and having fun, buddy.
Thanks, Mark.
All right. We're going to go ahead and bring up Josh Ward. Josh, Mark Murphy, and Ryan Eric King in the P1 broadcasting booth. You got a copy?
Yes, sir.
Very good. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. You came in here with a points lead, had a little bit of trouble early, bounced back, came back with a 2nd place. Tell us about your day.
That was really embarrassing. I wrecked myself from the lead, led 20 some odd laps, and destroyed myself, and came back. Yeah, had one fast repair and made my way through the field. Took a pit strategy at the end and ended up 2nd somehow.
It's okay. I probably own the most embarrassing moment of my iRacing tenure at this track. It was a top split broadcast. Gary Godso was on the call. I was leading the race with under caution about 15 laps to go, and we were doing the thing where you step on the clutch and burn fuel because you have too much and fuel is weight. And I don't know if Ryan was in that race or not. Certainly he's seen it and
Oh
heard
no,
the
I was
story.
there. I was
Yeah,
there.
I dropped the clutch too early and lit the rear tires up and wrecked myself in front of the field with about 500 people watching the broadcast. So at least you didn't do that, right?
Yeah, I try to be pretty good about not doing stupid stuff, but it happens to the best of us. But yeah, happy to finish second. Those long green runs we got were actually a lot of fun. Very, very frustrating when you get behind another car and can't get by them. But yeah, it's a ton of fun when we got going.
Absolutely, Ryan. You have anything for our second place finisher?
Yeah, did you have any particular places where you tried to make your passes? Because, like you said, it was hard to pass, and unlike a lot of people, you had the speed to get to start on pole, but you had to drive through the field.
Yeah, just anywhere I could get it. I mean, these cars at this track particular, it seemed like you had to be so just thoughtful and forward thinking about making a pass. I mean, you're trying to set a pass up a lap and a half before it actually happens. And just playing with the air, guessing where guys are going to go, and try not to get behind them. And but yeah, there's one point I was trying to set up a pass 2 laps in advance and trick the guy that I was going to go high in this corner, and the next time I got around, go low. But yeah, it was a lot of fun. Added a pretty good element to it. But this was a super fun track. Very, very, very hard to drive. But yeah, it's a good time.
Absolutely. Well, Josh, thank you so much for coming on with us. Any friends, family, sponsors you'd like to give a shout out to this evening?
I usually have Ellen card on my car about every iRacing race, and they help me race in real life. So I appreciate those guys, and just you guys putting on the league and Shane setting everything up. And it's good to have a IndyCar league. I've never been a part of one. I've always been NASCAR, and it's been a ton of fun.
Good deal. Well, keep going fast and having fun, Josh. We'll see you. I'm sure we'll see you up here in the booth some more as the season goes on, my friend.
Hopefully so. Thank you.
Yes, sir. So Josh Ward brings it home second this evening. And as soon as I get my screen reset, we will bring the driver of the 4D race, where number 99 up, Craig Forsyth, Mark Murphy, Ryan Eric King in the P1 booth. You got a copy?
You betcha. Hey, Mark. Hey, Ryan. How are you guys doing tonight?
You know, this was a lot easier on me than the 500 in Indy was Sunday. I didn't have to race you.
Oh, did you? So you enjoy just commenting more?
As long as I don't have to race you to within a couple of 10,000ths of a second, yes.
I believe it's about 2.5 inches. Did you say?
I don't know if anybody's got the ruler out yet, but it's something like that, 1.5 to 2 inches. It was a regular landslide. But Craig, you started up front, started 5th, stayed up front. There were some trials and tribulations along the way, but tell us about your race, man.
Yeah, no, I mean, this one was mostly just keep the car clean, keep alive. I mean, LGN, unfortunately, he hit the wall at that one point there, trying to get out of the way of him, ended up killing my front wing. I think killing my front wing also flat out murdered him, because had I been able to avoid him, I think he just would have been bounced off the wall and been able to continue on. But because of that was the unexpected pit stop I had to make to change the front wing. And then at that point after that, it was trying to figure out when you were going to make your final pit stop to, what was the right timing that you'd have good tires versus the other guys. And I mean, good on Edson for trying to, I knew he was going to be close. I figured he'd be about 7 laps or so short. And I think he was 8 laps short. So I was pretty close. And then just as he was going in, the caution came out, and I'm like, oh, you've got to be kidding. I mean, it saved his race, but at that point, there wasn't enough laps for him to get back up. And it was unfortunate for Julian, because I mean, I think he was the fastest guy in the field personally, but he just had the disconnect, and because of that, that ended his race. So I think we got lucky there. And then I wasn't sure, did Josh say he actually hit the wall, or did he mention that at all? I wasn't sure if he was falling back because he'd hit the wall or not.
No, he didn't mention it. I didn't see him hit it, but that doesn't mean he didn't.
There was a lot of there was a lot of net code tonight. So I was seeing a lot of cars riding the wall that weren't actually riding the wall.
Yeah, it's I don't know if it's the new build or whatever, but it seems like this season in particular, it seems like
Lost you, Mark.
No, that's okay. I just dropped my seat on my thumb. Ow. So, no, it just seems like netcode has been a little bit. I don't want to say more horrendous, but it's been a little bit more prominent. It seems
Prominent, I think, would be the well, yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, that's something maybe they'll need to look at. But overall, great run, Ryan. Do you have anything for the winner?
No, like all I can comment, like Craig ran a very solid race today, and like it's hard to ask for anything more.
No, I mean it was good. I realized there were a lot of cautions to start with. I mean, there's still. I think we only had exactly as many cautions as the top split New Hampshire race had. So there's as much as people are like that's a lot of cautions. It's like, well, no, the top split guys can also have a lot of cautions too. It just takes the right track combination. So I mean, the car was hard to hold. Once the tires started holding up, you needed to work hard to not lose it coming out of the corners, or just flat out hitting the wall. So I mean, good on the guys who were able to get to the end, because it was a hard race, and I'm just happy that we were able to get broken up and get ourselves to the end and have a good race.
Absolutely. Well, great race to you, Craig. You're the old pro at this. Tell us about your friends and family and sponsors that are out there watching you this evening.
Well, I got to thank Jim over at 4D Racewear. He's the sponsor for our team, and he makes good gloves, good racing shoes, and I know a lot of the guys in the community like to use them. And Shane putting on this league. It's not a normal night for me to race, but now that we're heading into the winter, my Wednesdays are freeing up. So this is something good to do on a night off now that I enjoy doing. And he's really active in the community, and the Discord chat is extremely active. So good on these guys for putting together a new. I realize it's a new league, but putting together a thriving new league. And you guys over at P1 doing the broadcast. And my wife for prepping our pizzas that we're going to go bake now. I love my wife.
Very good, my friend. Well, thank you so much for joining us. I definitely appreciate having you up here. Definitely appreciate racing against you, and keep going fast and having fun, man.
You betcha, man. You guys stay safe.
Will do. So that is tonight's winner, Craig Forsyth. We'll go ahead and drop him out. And Ryan, we kind of got what we might have expected in the multi-lane fanning out through turns 1 and 2. But we also got some unexpected stuff. I think I'd anticipated that we were going to see more guys have issues at the exit of turn 2. I didn't think we would see that many though.
Yeah, it felt like a lot of the stuff that we predicted did happen. The experienced guys knew how to use the high line to their advantage to get it out in front, but even they didn't have spotless days out there. The conditions really caught everyone out to some extent.
Yeah, it was very hot here. The track temp at one point was up over 111 degrees, which that's a very, very hot track in iRacing. And I thought everybody did a pretty good job according to the conditions. You are right. The experienced guys did come to the top, and they maybe didn't get the finishes that they had wanted or felt like they may have earned, but they were up there for most of the event. For me, Mark Murphy, Ryan Eric King, thank you so much for watching the broadcast. We did have quite a few people for a Wednesday night tuning into this, so thank you everybody for continuing each and every Wednesday to come back and listen to me as I blunder about trying to call the race, and Ryan as he drops in excellent analysis. We'd like to thank all of the military, police, EMS, and fire, all the first responders out there that keep us safe while we're asleep. For Mark Murphy, Ryan Eric King, P1, everyone at P1 Broadcasting, good luck, keep going fast and having fun, my friends, and we will see you next Wednesday night.